Anyone who's been a long-time viewer of my episode reviews knows that I always like to latch on to character introductions and story threads in the hope that they'll ultimately lead somewhere. While this has certainly bitten me a few times with the one-shot character of Peter and mistaking Vrock in Earth armor for a different character, I'd like to think I've gotten better at recognizing when a character will affect the plot more recently. With this in mind, some of you might be curious as to why I didn't talk about the story potential surrounding Tynamon and Brax as returning characters in my last review. Well, simply put, I'm taking a wait-and-see approach with these two. Sorry to keep bringing this up, but the complete mishandling of the Galactic Ninja really destroyed this season's credibility in my eyes, and as a result, I won't be looking forward to new characters being brought in until I'm positive this show plans to go somewhere with them. However, given the promotional material surrounding this episode, it sounds like it's going to focus on moving the plot, so let's see if Super Steel will actually do something interesting as we look at episode 14, Sheriff Skyfire. The episode opens with the introduction of Blammo as the next monster to take on the Rangers, who demonstrates his bomb-making abilities when suddenly...
Oh my! Is that the space police?
Hold it right there, Blammo.
Why, aren't you the legendary Sheriff Skyfire?
You're correct, space citizen. Now, Blammo, you're wanted for 73 counts of unlawful use of explosives. You're under arrest, pal.
Ooh, bad move reminding me of Ninjago.
What you're looking for is an arrow blade, forged by Deepstone, an aquatic material mined from the bottom of the ocean. Very unique, even more expensive.
Just to be clear, these two are not voiced by the same person, but that makes it even weirder that they sound so alike. Cosmo tries to convince the sheriff to let Blammo carry on with the show, but Skyfire's not having any of it and proceeds to take the monster away. The lawman runs into Odious, who tells him that the Rangers stole the prison from her, so the sheriff teleports to apprehend the teens, telling the madam to hold Blammo in the meantime. Once Skyfire leaves, Odious exclaims victory, believing the sheriff can take out the Rangers, when we cut to the school where Haley brings Cody and Monty helps Victor look at himself in the hall. The two notice security guard Clint confiscate a skateboard from a student who's not supposed to be riding, and intrigued by the idea of being able to take anything they want, the comedy team question Clint on how to become security guards. Clint deputizes the buffoons, telling them they need to follow every rule in the book, but as soon as he leaves, Victor and Monty immediately start taking things from students, making up rules as they go along. Clint sees Cody, so he immediately writes up Haley, saying there's no dogs allowed in the school, which confuses the White Ranger since she brings Cody in all the time. Haley's confession only leads to more write-ups, however, with Clint saying that he doesn't make the rules, he just enforces them, before making sure the girl takes her dog out. As Haley leaves, Clint writes her up again for not putting a recyclable in the right bin, and as soon as the guard leaves, the Rangers are called about buzzcam activity downtown. The teens come face to face with Sheriff Skyfire, who orders the team to surrender for what they did to Odious, but hearing the sheriff is working for their foe, the Rangers morph into action instead. The sheriff's able to put up a good fight against the Rangers, but the battle soon comes to a close when Skyfire accidentally deflects a blast at an old woman. Seeing the sheriff help out the woman, the Rangers realize he's actually a good guy who was tricked by Odious to defeat our heroes, so they explain their side of the story to Skyfire. The sheriff asks for a full report of all the monsters the Rangers have defeated, but as they head to shop class, Haley sees a text from Principal Hastings that was sent an hour ago. As the White Ranger departs from the others, Odious sees that her plan backfired, so she calls on Blammo to blow Skyfire and the Rangers to smithereens.
I know where to hide your little surprise. The junkyard where the Rangers train.
Perfect. This is gonna be a blast.
Wait, you guys know where the Rangers train? How did you figure that out? How long have you known this information? Why haven't you tried attacking there before? You don't get to bring up something like that without answering at least a few of these questions. Regardless, Blammo goes to the junkyard, but rather than wait for the Rangers, he sets a time bomb at Odysseus' request so that only the Rangers will be around when it goes off. Not sure why the supervillain is so concerned about collateral damage, but at least she's being considerate. We then get a scene where Victor and Monty take more items from people, and all I can think is why no teachers are here to see this obvious abuse of power. During their raid, Victor and Monty pick up some blueberries that a student's experimenting on before we cut to Haley meeting with Principal Hastings. The principal tells Haley that she's being punished for her recent write-ups, telling her that she needs to separate the recyclables from the trash, beginning in the junkyard. When Haley gets to the junkyard, however, she finds Clint nearly done separating things, even taking Blammo's bomb as recycling. Shockingly, the White Ranger doesn't see the bomb as a threat, and is more upset that he didn't wait for her, but she does mellow out when Clint tells her the recycling place closes soon. As the conversation continues, Clint says it's really easy to follow rules, but the students always make his job harder, which is why he plans to quit when he's done with the recycling. After Clint leaves, Sheriff Skyfire throws his 2 cents in, just in case you forgot what show you were watching, and he tells Haley that people sometimes break rules without thinking, making it harder for lawmen like him to help. The other Rangers then share their experiences with Clint, realizing they complained when they should have thanked him, so Haley says she's gonna try to convince Clint to stay at the school. Before Haley can leave, though, Sheriff Skyfire shows the team a picture capture of Blammo as his next arrest, with the White Ranger discovering that the bomb Blammo's holding is similar to the one Clint just drove off with. Realizing the bomb was meant for them, the Rangers rush to get it away from Clint, and luckily they're able to catch the security guard before he gets too far. After they explain the situation, the team finds the bomb, and thanks to some quick thinking from Haley, the bomb explodes in a hole out of harm's way. The White Ranger thanks Clint for helping find the bomb before Blammo shows up, so the team tells the guard to get to safety while they take on the monster. During the fight, the Rangers beat on Blammo before the sheriff strikes the monster down, and after Brody morphs into his battleizer, Skyfire hands over his katana so the Red Ranger can finish Blammo. The monster is gigantified, so the Rangers call on the Ninja Blaze Megazord, and after a tough fight, the Rangers use their powers to come out victorious. After the fight, Skyfire says farewell to the Rangers, who thank the sheriff for his help, and once the lawman leaves, Haley says she has an idea on how to keep Clint around. Later, the teens show the security guard that they've rigged up trash bins so they'll remind people when something's recyclable, before Haley apologizes for how she acted towards Clint earlier. Thanks to the Rangers' efforts, the security guard decides to stick around, but the moment doesn't last as some students ask Clint to help deal with Victor and Monty. The guard finds his deputies just as they eat the blueberries from earlier, but they soon discover those weren't blueberries, just an experimental space food with a faulty formula. The two ask what's wrong with the formula before turning into human blueberries, and the episode ends with the students laughing at the duo, with Lee Vaden commenting that Victor should change his name to Violet. Points for a random Willy Wonka reference? This episode is decent. I gotta be honest with you guys, this show has been so consistently bad over the past few weeks that I've forgotten what it's like to talk about something so middle of the road. The bizarre thing is that this episode probably has more cons than it does pros, but the elements it gets right are arguably the most important. Finally, we get an episode that portrays a good moral effectively without undercutting its efforts like the last episode. We also get two character introductions here in Clint and Sheriff Skyfire, and I'll go ahead and talk about the security guard first since he's at the forefront of the message. Clint goes by the philosophy that rules are there for a reason, and through his actions, the audience is not only taught that they should listen to figures of authority, but also the importance of recycling. This episode was smart to start from the perspective of the students, who clearly don't understand why Clint is doing the things he's doing, but once Haley actually has a conversation with the man, we get to see things from his point of view. As a side note, that's also Byron Cole, the voice of Redbot, playing Clint, and for the most part, I think he does a good job with the material he's given. However, as good as these messages are, and as happy as I am that the show has at last portrayed the right morals in a good way, it did accomplish that by essentially stopping everything to talk about what the morals are and why they're important. Seriously, this scene feels so much like an after-school special that it completely took me out of the narrative of the episode to the point where I started questioning why these morals couldn't have been portrayed in a more subtle way. I get that this is Power Rangers, so my complaint here is more of a nitpick, but past seasons of this show have been pretty good about mixing in morals with the superhero action we see. Even Robo Knight's introductory episode, which I felt was too preachy with its environmental message, did this better because protecting the environment is a part of Robo Knight's character. In fact, that episode made this a more frustrating watch because it made me realize that more could have been done to integrate Sheriff Skyfire into at least the authority side of the morals. At first, I thought that's where the episode was going since it introduces the sheriff and Clint within scenes of each other, but instead, Skyfire's feud with the Rangers is resolved almost immediately, leaving the sheriff to basically stand around until the monster fight. Yes, I know that Skyfire was the one to help Haley see Clint's point of view, but given that all the Rangers are talking about the security guard in that scene, I have a hard time believing they wouldn't have come to the same conclusion without the sheriff's input. I did discover in my research that Sheriff Skyfire is based on a character from another tokusatsu series that just crossed over with the Ninja Steel Sentai Ninja, so I'm curious to know if any of his American fans have seen this episode and thought the character was as wasted as I thought he was here. However, Sheriff Skyfire is not the only wasted potential in this episode, since Brax and Tynamon don't even show up, and Badana just casually mentions that she knows where the Rangers train without going into how. I know that the Ninja Steel team have been really careless when it comes to protecting their secret identities as well as their base, so I can believe that the villains were able to find where they train, but that still doesn't explain why the place isn't under constant attack, nor how Odious hasn't been able to find the place since it's right next to the junkyard. Speaking of junk, I was not a fan of the Victor and Monty subplot that ran throughout this episode. Don't get me wrong, the two are used much better here than they have been more recently, I just personally don't like their scenes. I'm not a huge fan of TV episodes where a character abuses their authority unless there's a strong payoff, and I feel the ending joke was too out of place and cartoony in an episode that takes itself seriously with the morals. Overall, this episode is okay. It's not good enough to be considered a favorite, but it's not bad enough to be counted among the worst episodes this season. Sure, I definitely had my problems, which means I probably won't be rewatching this anytime soon, but I can see people enjoying this if they happen to catch it on TV, so it gets a pretty average recommendation. I'm Nick, aka IronBat1993, and may the power protect you. Please subscribe for reviews of Ninja Steel, Super Ninja Steel. Also check out Dino Charge Reviews too, episode reviews. Also there's Ninjago, and I've got a Patreon. Go! Please subscribe.